3 weeks after I retired, my wife looked at me across our kitchen and said something I still haven't recovered from. She wasn't angry, she was exhausted. And what she said that morning rearranged everything I thought I understood about the life I'd built. I'm 56, my name is Glenn. I gave 31 years to a career in supply chain logistics, and I walked away from it thinking I knew exactly what came next. I didn't. I'll tell you what Carol said, I'll get there. But first you need to understand how a man ends up standing in his own kitchen at 7 in the morning with nothing pulling him out of bed, nothing on his calendar, nothing in his hands, and his wife looking at him like he's a problem she didn't plan for. If you're working right now, grinding through the weeks, counting down to the day you finally get to stop, you believe the same thing I believed. And that's exactly why I need you to hear this. Let me go back. I started at 22, manufacturing company outside of Cleveland. It wasn't a dream, it wasn't a calling, but it was steady. And where I come from, steady was what you build a life on. My father worked the same plant for 37 years and retired at 60 with a pension and a bad knee. That was the blueprint. You show up, you don't complain, and at the end, you rest. That was the deal. Carol and I married when I was 26. She was teaching 3rd grade. We bought a small house in Menor, had 2 kids 18 months apart, Sarah and then David. And we did what everyone around us did. We worked, we saved. We followed the plan nobody writes down but everybody trusts. I took the promotions when they came. Management by 34, operations director by 41. It wasn't exciting, but it was responsible. I wore that word like armor. Like as long as I was being responsible, nothing could be wrong. Something was wrong. I just couldn't see it yet. Work now, sacrifice now, enjoy later. That was the agreement. I miss things. I know that now, but at the time it didn't feel like missing, it felt like investing. Sarah had a piano recital when she was 12, spring concert at the middle school, and I told Carol I'd leave early, but a shipment issue came up and I didn't make it. David played JV baseball and I caught maybe half his games over 2 seasons. I told myself the ones I missed were the price of the life I was building. I was building toward retirement. That sentence used to sound like wisdom. Now it sounds like the lie I told myself for 3 decades so I wouldn't have to look at what I was actually doing. But you don't see it when you're inside it. That's what I keep circling back to. The belief doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like gravity. Retirement is the reward. Everybody says so. Your company says so. Your financial advisor says so. The whole culture runs on this idea that you're walking toward a finish line, and when you cross it, everything you put off will be sitting there waiting for you. So I crossed it. Last day was a Friday in June. They gave me a plaque and a sheet cake and a card signed by 43 people, most of whose handwriting I didn't recognize. I drove home with the windows down thinking, this is it. This is where the real life starts. That's not what started. For 2 weeks, it felt like vacation. I slept in, made eggs for Carol, organized the garage, sat on the deck with a book I'd been putting off for years. Pleasant, easy. I figured I was settling in. By week 4, something shifted. Not something dramatic, something quiet, something that crept in under the door while I wasn't paying attention. I started waking at 5:30 out of habit and lying there with nothing pulling me up. Not resting, just lying there. I'd come downstairs and the house would be dead silent, and I'd sit at the kitchen table staring at the clock thinking, it's 7:10. Then I'd think, so what? That so what followed me everywhere. I'd drive to the hardware store for something I didn't need, walk the aisles for 40 minutes, come home and Carol would ask what I got and I'd say nothing, they didn't have it. But I wasn't shopping. I was trying to feel like I had a reason to be standing up and moving through the world. That's where it started going wrong, and I didn't recognize it. That's the dangerous part. It wasn't just boredom, it was deeper than that. For 31 years, people needed me somewhere at a specific time. Decisions required my name. Problems showed up on my desk and I solved them, and that told me who I was. Every single day, the job answered a question I didn't even know I was asking. Do I matter? And the answer was always yes. You're expected, you're required, you have a role. Then one day I didn't. I told myself it was the adjustment period. Everybody talks about the adjustment period. Give it 3 months, you'll find your rhythm. 3 months came and went and the rhythm didn't show up. What showed up instead was worse. Things between me and Carol started to change. Not a fight, not an argument, a distance. The kind that moves in so slowly you don't notice until it's already sitting between you at the dinner table. Carol had a life. She always had. Her friends from school, book club, her garden, Saturday walks with her sister. That world was full. Then suddenly I was in it, all the time. Sitting in the living room when she came back from her walks, asking what she wanted for lunch, trailing her to the grocery store because I had nowhere else to be and nothing else to do. I told myself I was being present, finally showing up after 31 years of being gone. I wasn't showing up, I was leaning on her, putting the full weight of my empty life on the one person still standing next to me. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. That's the thing about losing yourself. You don't announce it. You just slowly become someone else's problem. About 3 weeks in, 3 weeks of me hovering, her pulling back an inch at a time, she said the thing I mentioned at the beginning. We were in the kitchen. She had just come back from coffee with a friend. I asked how it was. She said fine. Then she set her keys on the counter and went quiet for a second. And she looked at me and said, "Glenn, you need to find something, because I can't be your whole world. That's not fair to either of us." She didn't raise her voice. She said it like someone putting down something heavy she'd been carrying in silence for weeks. And when she walked out of the room, I could see it in her shoulders, the weight of loving someone who had become an obligation. That was worse than anger. Anger I could have argued with. This I couldn't. I stood there, hands on the counter, staring out the window at the backyard, and what I felt wasn't sadness. It was something underneath sadness, like I'd been standing on a floor my whole life and someone pulled it up and there was nothing beneath it. No self, no foundation, just the shape of a man who used to be needed somewhere. I didn't lose a job. I lost the only place I mattered. That's the fracture. That's what I need you to hear. It wasn't that retirement was bad. It wasn't boredom. I'd spent 30 years becoming someone whose entire identity ran on being useful, productive, required. And when nobody required me anymore, there was nothing holding me together. Not nothing in a loud way, nothing in a quiet, ordinary, devastating way. The kind of nothing you can't explain because from the outside your life looks fine. Better than fine. You're the guy who made it. But I didn't make it. I just stopped. I didn't have hobbies. Not real ones. I had ideas I'd shelved for someday, and someday came and I didn't know how to pick them up. I didn't have close friends, I had colleagues. People I sat across from in a break room for 15 years whose last names I'm still not confident about. I didn't know what I liked. I don't think I'd asked myself what I genuinely enjoyed in 20 years, maybe longer. And that list, the hobbies I never started, the friendships I let thin out, the mornings I rushed through, the evenings I gave away, the conversations I told myself I'd get to later. That's the cost. Not any one thing on it, all of it together. Decades of it, compounding in silence. My neighbor Don retired 2 years before me. 61, early package from the county. I remember him telling me his plans: fishing, woodworking, the list he'd been keeping. I ran into him 4 months ago at the mailbox and he looked different. Not sick, smaller, like something had been quietly leaking out of him. I asked how it was going and he said, "Honestly, I watch a lot of television." He laughed when he said it. It wasn't funny. Don's not lazy. Don's not depressed. Don is a man who spent 40 years knowing exactly who he was because the job told him every morning. And when it stopped telling him, he couldn't figure it out on his own. Nobody warned him. Nobody warned me either. And then there's the thing I haven't told anyone. Not Carol, not my kids, no one until right now. A Tuesday in October, middle of the afternoon. I was out running errands and I ended up in the parking lot across the street from my old office. I didn't decide to go there, my hands just took me. I parked and I sat and I watched people walking in and out of the building. People with badges clipped to their belts, people carrying coffee, people late for something. And I cried. I put my forehead on the steering wheel at 2:15 on a Tuesday and I cried like I hadn't in years. And the whole time there was this voice in my head saying, "What are you doing, Glenn? You're a grown man sitting in a parking lot crying because other people have somewhere to be." But that was it. That was exactly it. They had somewhere to be, and I didn't. I didn't want the job back. I wanted what the job gave me without asking. A reason to get up, a place that expected me. The quiet proof that if I didn't show up, something wouldn't get done. You don't know you need that until it's gone. I sat there for 20 minutes, wiped my face with my sleeve, drove home. Carol asked how the errands went. I said, fine. I'm telling you now, first time out loud. So let me talk to you directly. If you're in the middle of your career right now, if you've got a number in your head, an age, a year, a dollar amount, and you're telling yourself that when you hit it, everything clicks into place, I need you to ask yourself one thing. What are you actually walking toward? Not the absence of work, not the end of the grind. What's there? Because I walked away from something for 31 years. Walked away from something I didn't love and called the destination a reward. But I never built anything at the destination. I never built a life that could hold me without a schedule, without a title, without someone needing me somewhere at 8 in the morning. You think you're building towards something. I thought so too. And the truth, the one I would have waved off 10 years ago, the one that sounds so plain it's almost insulting, is that retirement doesn't give you a life. It gives you time. And if you haven't already built something to put in that time, something that has nothing to do with earning or producing or being needed, then what you get isn't freedom. What you get is a void with a pension. That's not a metaphor. That's my morning. This isn't complicated. That's what actually haunts me. The thing I missed wasn't buried. It was right there the whole time. Know who you are when you're not working. Know what you care about that has nothing to do with a paycheck. Show up for the recital. Stay for the whole game. Not because it's productive, because that is the life. That's the thing you keep saying you're working for. I didn't do it. And now I'm 56, sitting in a house that's too quiet, married to a woman who loves me but who shouldn't have to be the only reason my life has a shape. I haven't figured it out. I need to say that honestly. I haven't found a purpose. I didn't discover some late life passion. I didn't become the guy who paints or hikes or volunteers. Some mornings I come downstairs and the emptiness is already at the kitchen table, like it got there first, like it's been waiting. But I notice things now, small things. Light moving across the yard at 6:45. Carol laughing on the phone with her sister in the other room. The unfamiliar weight of having nowhere to go and choosing, slowly, clumsily, to be right here. I don't know if that's progress. I don't know what to call it. I just know the finish line I ran toward for 31 years had nothing waiting on the other side. And I wish someone had said that while I still had time to build something there. I'm still in that kitchen most mornings. Coffee I didn't want. Same window, same yard. But I look at it different now. Not as the view from retirement, just as the yard. That's where I am. Turns out the thing I lost wasn't a career. It was the only version of myself I ever learned to be. If someone you know is counting down to retirement like it's going to save them, maybe let them hear this. And if you've crossed that line and felt what I'm describing, tell me. Leave a comment. I'd like to know I'm not the only one standing in his kitchen wondering what comes after the thing that was supposed to come after everything.